The three most dangerous, maybe cringiest words in the human language are probably, just trust me, right? All things being equal, everything else aside, if you tell me, just trust me, guess what? I immediately do not trust you, right? The entire human nervous system and brain was designed to scan our environment and answer the question, is it safe? Trust is everything. Relationships rise and fall on trust. Trust is the foundation for connection and intimacy, which is what everybody wants when they get into a relationship. So then we start asking the question, how do we know if we can trust somebody? Are there indicators? Are there things we can check on? Are there questions we can ask? The answer is yes. Dr. Henry Cloud's latest book titled Trust, he gives 5 essentials to determine if somebody can be trusted. And in this video, I want to tackle those and give you some questions to ask. Maybe you're in a relationship and you don't quite trust, but you can't articulate why. These 5 questions will help you. Or maybe you're getting into a relationship and you're trying to determine, is this person trustworthy? These questions will help. Or maybe you're just trying to determine, is there some evaluative information that we can use in any relationship to determine, is somebody trustworthy? Yes, these 5 questions will help you. If you've not already downloaded our free guide to intimacy, you'll see a link in the description area below. If you're married and you need a place to strengthen your relationship, check out our marriage membership. It's basically the place where couples who are married, who actually care about their relationship, hang out. We've got forums, we've got live calls, we've got videos on topics like this to help couples grow and strengthen their relationship, so check that out. So let's start with trust and a working definition of trust so that we're all on the same page and we understand what are we talking about when we say trust. And then I want to give you 5 questions that you need to be asking when it comes to relationship to determine, is this person trustworthy? Or if I'm married to him and trust has been broken, how do I rebuild trust and know when it is safe to begin trusting again? So let's do a working definition of trust. As a noun, trust is assured reliance on the character, ability, strength, or truth of somebody. As a verb, trust is to believe that someone is good and honest and will not harm you, or that something is safe and reliable. So listen, trust is not always about lying or betrayal. Sometimes somebody can be full of integrity and character in many areas of a relationship, yet still not somebody that you should be trusting or is trustworthy for you. So Dr. Henry Cloud identifies 5 essential areas of trust, which are understanding, motive, ability, character, and track record. I'm going to do some future videos breaking down each one of those, but in this video, I want to give you 5 questions that pertain to these 5 essential areas that you can ask to determine, is the relationship I'm stepping into one I can trust? Or if I'm married and I'm not sure why I don't trust, maybe these can help you evaluate it and give you some keys to rebuilding trust in the relationship. The first question is, do you feel like your needs are understood, felt, and cared about? Do you feel like the other person you're in a relationship with has taken the time to get to know you, to understand you, and that they know what your needs are, and that not that they just verbal assent, oh yeah, I get what you mean, oh yeah, I'm good with that, but they actually are felt and cared for. So does this person understand your needs and desires, and are there actions following the understanding that says, I'm prioritizing the things that you have expressed are necessary or important to you, and also, do I care about the things that hurt you, and am I avoiding stepping into the things that hurt you? We can do a lot of good talk, but does the walk match up with the talk in such a way that this person is demonstrating by their actions, their behaviors, their attitudes, that they fully understand your needs, your likes, your desires, the things that hurt you, and are they careful to make sure they are trying to meet these in your life? You need to ask the question, does this person understand you? Understanding is the beginning of trust. Question number 2 that you need to ask is, do you believe your spouse's motive is for you and your best, not for themselves? Somebody that you can trust is somebody that you know has your back. Somebody that is interested and is motivated by what's best for you, not what's best for them. You know, when you think about a new relationship and quote, falling in love, what we usually fall in love with is we fall in love with the way that they make us feel about us. The reason I like spending time with you, the reason I'm into you, the reason I fell in love with you is not because I found a place to serve and to put you first. It's because, you know what, you make me feel good about me. That's why I, quote, fall in love with you. But if you're really going to trust somebody, you've got to believe that they want what's best for you primarily and over and above what is best for them. They got your back. That is somebody that has demonstrated that when push comes to shove, their motivation is first for you and second for them. And I'm not talking about somebody who's a doormat and doesn't ever stand up for themselves and is codependent and unhealthy. I mean, in a healthy way, that the other person's motive is your best and they're willing to prioritize your best, even at times when it results in loss for them or when it costs them something. That is somebody that you can actually trust. Number 3 is, do you believe your spouse has the ability and the capacity to guard and deliver in the areas that you've entrusted to them? So going back to the first 2 questions, they can have a full understanding of what you need, what you desire, and what hurts you. They can have the right motive, a desire to put you first and all that kind of stuff, but then not have the ability or capacity to follow through and execute and deliver in the areas you've most entrusted to them, and it's going to be hard to trust them. So they get you, they want to put you first, they have the right motive, but they don't have the ability or capacity to deliver in the areas that you've entrusted to them. That's not going to be somebody ultimately that you can trust. So we got to match up an understanding and motive with the skill and ability to actually be the kind of partner that you want. For instance, you may need some things in a partner that while they know you and want your best, they actually cannot deliver in those areas where you most need them. That's not somebody that you're going to be able to trust fully. So you need to ask the question, do they have the ability and capacity to both guard the areas you need guarded? Maybe that's areas of woundedness for you and some of those other things, but also deliver in the areas that you are trusting and depending on them to deliver in. A 4th question is, do you trust your spouse's character in the areas that you depend on them for? So this is key because it's not just do they have good character overall, but do you trust their character in the areas, again, that you're depending on them for? So I think there are some foundational character and integrity issues that every spouse or partner needs to have. Things like faithfulness, like honesty, like dependability, right? I think there's some foundational things, but there are also some character traits that may be needed in different contexts and in different areas, right? So if you think about life and relationship in general, somebody can have some real great character strengths in one area, which makes them lopsided and unhealthy and negative in another area, right? So in some contexts, compassion is needed. You want your partner, your spouse to exhibit that character trait, but in other contexts and situations, courage is needed. So I need them to have the ability to be courageous at times when it's called for, but also compassionate and softer and more gentle at times, right? You may need context where I need my spouse to be open-minded and open to new ideas and new thoughts, but there's other situations where I need them to have fidelity when it comes to rules and integrity in certain areas, so they're not just cutting corners and other stuff. So there are different character traits that are needed in different contexts, and you have to ask yourself, do you depend on your partner's character in the areas that you're depending on them and where you need them? Because that may be contextual and that may be unique to you and where you're trying to go in life, the goals you have, the vision you have, and some of those kind of things. So it's not just a foundational character that I think all potential partners and spouses need. Like, you got to be honest, you got to be faithful, you got to be dependable, but in the context in which I need them, do I trust that they have those character traits that I need? And number 5 is Is your spouse's track record consistent or inconsistent in performing in the areas in which you need them to perform? You need to ask yourself this question, because the reality is, as promises are fulfilled, trust builds. As promises are broken or not fulfilled, trust begins to erode. That we build trust on patterns of behavior, both good and bad. But behavior builds patterns. So it may be good patterns, it may be bad patterns. But we've got to ask ourselves, does our spouse, does our partner have the track record in the behaviors that we need? Are they consistent in the things that we need them to step up and perform? If it's not, we have a hard time having trust in them. If they say they'll do something and they don't follow through, it's hard to trust them. Whereas if they say they'll do things, if there's behaviors we need, if there's patterns we need, and they continually fulfill them, I'm not saying we are 100% and we never fall short, but track record matters. Behavioral patterns are often, past behavior is often a good indicator of potential future performance. So we've got to ask ourselves, do they have a track record of being able to consistently do the things that we're depending on them to do? And if not, it's going to be hard to trust them. So those are 5 questions that you need to use as an evaluative tool on whether or not you can trust somebody. If you're married, what I want you to do is I want you to take these 5 questions and I want you to rank yourself, and maybe do this with your spouse, on 1 to 5. 1 being not a whole lot of trust or follow through, 5 being fully trust them in this area, and evaluate yourself in these 5 areas and maybe determine which of these do you each need to work on in order to build greater trust in the relationship. If you're dating and not yet married, these 5 questions need to be the primary filter through which you determine if somebody is trustworthy. Because what often happens is we get emotionally connected at a greater level than we should, based on what we have to evaluate trust in a relationship, especially if you're having sex, because it's going to hijack the patterns that we would build trust around and make us feel super connected and trust people who are not trustworthy or even good people. But we've got to use these 5 questions to evaluate the trustworthiness of somebody that we are going to partner with in a romantic relationship. I'd love to hear your thoughts on these 5 questions. Maybe even judge yourself. How do you do in these areas? And where have you noticed in past relationships where the answer to this have been, yes, I can trust him in this area, or no, I can't, and how that relationship turned out. So drop a comment. Let's have a conversation about it. Again, if we can help you in any area of your relationship, we'd love to be a part of your relationship journey. And stay tuned, because the very next video, we're going to start unpacking essential number 1, which is understanding as it pertains to trust. I'll see you next time right here on RelationShots.